Thank y'all for another gathering and to be here amongst my family and to share in the celebration of Yahuah. You know, that's what we come here every week to do. Celebrate each other, celebrate the Most High, celebrate His favors and His patience with us as we travel through this land. You know, we learn something new about ourselves each and every day. Some things are good, some things not so good. Well, we can take it all to Him and we deal with it as it comes up. We thank Yah for our brothers and sisters who we rub up against, and they can correct us and or help us as needed. And I thank Yah for that, for family. Can't be a family if you don't gather together. You don't know each other. So in their generations, and go ahead and get started. In their generations, as I was doing this lesson this week, I had opportunity to spend some time with my daughter, and I was telling her about something we were watching, and I said, "Do you see the information that they're putting out? You don't understand nothing they're saying, because only those that were in that generation understands what they're actually talking about, right? To you, it's all out of context. You don't really have any context clues as to what it's really talking about. It's in fragments, right? You got your sling. For every generation has its sling, right? And if you don't know that slang, you'll just assume it means something in your generation that it didn't mean back then, you know. So we have to be cognizant of that. And sometimes you need somebody to interpret that. You know, what are they talking about? You know. And so I had an opportunity to do that with my daughter on a movie that was kind of based in the 60s and 70s. And I said, you see what's going on here? He's speaking to the generation. It was a powerful piece that was speaking to the generation, but it was timeless because the things they were talking about were still going on today. It's just that you had to put it in the proper context for them to understand, catch up. And that's my endeavor here. All right. Rules used for all lessons. All right. Please keep your mic muted except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There is a feature on Zoom in the meeting room where you can raise your hand if you have a question. All questions must be on the topic. You have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you. These rules are due to the time of recordings of the lessons, and these are live teachings. We must give the Mori enough time to complete the lesson. Yeah. All right, like we start off every week. Keep doing this. We're going to move on in the verses here soon, but I want to kind of drill this home. The Song of Moses throughout the generations. You should be learning this, learning it. All right. Deuteronomy 32, 5-8. They have dealt corruptly with him. They are no longer his children because they are blemished. They are a crooked and twisted generation. Do you thus repay Yahuah, you foolish and senseless people? Is he not your father who created you, who made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your fathers, and he will show you. Ask your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the people according to the numbers of the son of El. Hallelujah. All right, just keep that in mind because this is what we're talking about now. Like I say, we're decoding this as we go through these generations. All right. So we've been talking about Noah, and Noah was the only righteous one in his generation. He was prophesied to be the one to bring rest and comfort from the work or our work or the toil that they were doing in the ground, because he was. That's why he was called Noah. Noah means comfort and rest. He and his sons and their wives were the replanting of mankind in the earth. It was seen as a fresh start, a new beginning. Everybody's looking for a fresh start and a new beginning. When we wake up and come into the knowledge of truth, you hear that good news. It's a fresh start. When you go in that water and you come up, it's a fresh start, a new beginning. He said, but the condition of man's heart was still the same. And another generation will arise after him whose actions change the course of humanity and how the Creator will interact with mankind going forward. So if you're looking at the scriptures, you're going to see, like I was telling Maisha, I say from Genesis 6 through 12, you're looking at a whole snapshot, an overview of world history. It doesn't cover every little detail because the Bible is not about the world's history and all the other nations. It's specifically focusing in on Yahuah and his people. But he had to give you the backdrop because the cycle keeps happening. So you have to be able to understand what was going on. That's the reason for the song, right? You got to ask about these next generations. So I titled this one, The Comforter Has Come, speaking about Noah. And I'm going back over this verse because last week a brother asked a question and I want to deal with it a little more in depth before moving forward because it has a lot to do with what happens later on in the generations. Genesis 8:21. And when Yahuah smelled the pleasing odor, Yahuah said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of mankind. Why was the ground cursed?
Disobedience.
All right, disobedience of whom? What happened? Oh, somebody's talking? You're right.
Disobedient.
Who disobedient to what?
The people.
The people. Which people?
His people.
Why did he curse the ground? Remember? Let's go back now. Think about it. We got to remember why he did what he did. All right. So Genesis 3:17, remember? Genesis 3:17. And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree, keep that tree in mind, because you're going to see that tree again, about which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In tall you shall eat of it all the days of your life. It says, thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the fields. Now he's got to forage for his food. It went from being able to just go to the trees and having all these things growing fruitfully and abundantly to now he got to scratch out a living. By the sweat of your face, you shall eat bread until you return to the ground out of which you were taken. Keep that in mind. This ground out of which he was taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. All right? Now I'm saying all that because I want to read this Targum next that kind of correlates with it. All right? And he called his name Noah. Right? This is the prophecy that came forth about the comfort that was going to come, that was going to relieve them of the toil. He said, call his name Noah, saying, this one will comfort us from our work, which has not prospered, and from all the toil of our hands, and from the ground that Yahuah has cursed on account of the sins of mankind. So he had cursed the actual earth because of our sins, or because of Adam's disobedience. All right. The motivations of the heart, we're going to deal with that next. Now, for the inclinations, the rest of that verse, for the inclinations of the human heart is evil from youth. Nor will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done. Now, last week when he asked, could we expand on a little bit, we did a kind of tongue-in-cheek, and Omori did a very in-depth word on the word yetzer that's used here. And we see that it's something formed, created, an inclination, a disposition, a motivation of the heart. He says the motivations of our heart, the inclinations of our heart, the imagination, you see it in the King James, of our heart, of the human heart, is evil from youth, from the very beginning, from our inception. We come in. It wasn't supposed to be that way, but because we're now in the likeness and the image of who? Who?
Elohim.
That was the initial prototype. So after he fell, who became the likeness and image of? Adam, right? So this word is also connected to Yetzer, and it's talking about the forming and the shaping and the creating that Elohim did as the creator. All right? So I'm going to show you a couple examples. Okay, we'll do that way. Motivation of the creator's heart, right? Genesis 2:71, 2 and 7. Then Yahuah Elohim formed he, this is the same word, formed, it said, formed he man of the dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living creature, a living soul, as you see it in King James, or nephesh in Hebrew. And Yahuah Elohim planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Isaiah 45:18 says, and thus says Yahuah, who created the heavens. He is Elohim, who formed the earth and made it. He established it. He did not create it a chaos. He formed it to be what? Inhabited. The purpose of the earth was not to be void and just a chaotic. He created it so that he can have his what? Image in the earth. That's what we're supposed to start to reflect. Now, in their generation, we're going to see what happened. He said, I am Yahuah, and there is no other. Now, Yahuah is very clear about his purpose and the motivations of his heart. Jeremiah 29:11. For surely I know the plans I have for you, says Yahuah, plans for your welfare and not for your harm, to give you a future with hope. Then when you call upon me and come and pray to me, I will hear you. When you search for me, everybody's going to search for him in their generation. When you wake up to the knowledge, you hear his voice, you're going to search for me. You will find me if you seek me with all your heart. He says further in 14, I will let you find me. Because if he don't want you to find him, he will keep you in a shroud of darkness. And you'll be still walking around blind. But Yahuah say, I will let you find me if your heart is sincere seeking me. And I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and all the places where I have driven you, saith Yahuah, and I will bring you back to the place from where I sent you into exile. Yahuah is very clear about his intentions for his people. Now, think about this. He was trying to do that at the beginning for all of mankind. This was the whole purpose of the flood, for all of mankind. But he narrowed it down later on. We're going to see that. Isaiah 55:6. Seek Yahuah while he may be found, and call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake their ways, and the unrighteous their thoughts. Let them return to Yahuah, that he may have mercy on them, and to our Elohim, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts, this is Yahuah's thoughts, are not our thoughts, nor are your ways his ways, my ways, says Yahuah. For all the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, your ways, and my thoughts higher than yours. So you can't project how you would do things onto Yahuah. He is very deliberate about how he has structured things. And when he has told us to go back and look and see what happened so that you'll understand clearly. Don't get tunnel vision, because a lot of times you think everything in the scriptures is just focused on one point when Yahuah really cares about the whole, right? And you have a part to play in the whole. All right. So the Creator knows the heart of man. He knows what the man's heart is capable of, right? He said in Jeremiah 17:9 that the heart is devious above all else. It is perverse. Who can understand it? I, Yahuah, test the heart and search the mind. What the tree was about. Huh? Because
it was a test.
it was a test, right? It was a test. He put the vine there for a test, all right? To give to all according to their ways, according to the fruit of their doing. So if you don't think that Yahuah, you're saying, oh, I love you, Yahuah. Use me, Yahuah. Work in me, Yahuah. And you don't think he's going to try your heart? Not so that, because he already knows your heart, but to show you what's in you. It's not to make you faint to give up, but it's to make you to press in. Say, Father, I repent of my sin. I don't want this. This is not what I want. I want to pursue you. I want the things that you have for me.
So real quick, so in this test as you're sharing, so if everyone agrees that, as he says, Yahuah's testing our heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's put Yahuah just aside for a second. How many of us already believe we know our own heart? Right? I know
How many
me.
believe you know your own heart?
I know me. I know my own heart. But then when a situation comes up, something happens to that heart that you know you, right? So the whole point is when God tests us is to show you that, when there's nothing going on, your heart could be towards him. But when some trials or some tribulations come up, he wants you to see your other side of you, if that side is willing to submit to his word. Okay. So just keep that in mind.
Yes. All right. Deuteronomy 31:21. This is the prelude going into that song. Deuteronomy 31:21. It's a part of this. He says, and when many troubles, terrible troubles come upon them, he said, this song, the song of Moses, will confront them as a witness, because it will not be lost from the mouths of their descendants. We're still talking about it today. They're going to be talking about it when I'm gone. They're going to be talking about it when they're gone. It's going to go on and on. For I know what they are inclined, and it's the same word, their intentions, their motivations, their imaginations do even now. He knew at that moment when he was telling them they're getting ready to go into the promised land, he knew what they were going to do. But they didn't know. They said, oh, we're going to serve you, Yah, with all our heart, all our strength. You know I love you, Yah. Right? Before I have brought them into the land that I have promised them on an oath. In Deuteronomy 5:28. And Yahuah heard the voice of your words. And this is, Moses is on the mountain. Yahuah is speaking to them at Sinai, and they couldn't take it. And said, Moses, you go talk to him. And Yahuah said, I heard the voice of your words when you spake unto me. And Yahuah said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto me. They have well said all that they have spoken. You know, sometimes you can know the right words to say. The right words to say. You know exactly, you know how to go. You think you know how to go in before Yahuah. You have your phrases down. You have your favorite scriptures. You know, you have your routine prayer. You know, you think you're saying the right things. But he says this, because he knows the heart. He said, oh, that there was such a heart in them. Yeah. He said he's going to listen to you. You go for him. They said the right things because they know you can't just go in his presence any old kind of way. Right? They're saying the right things, but I wish they had a heart in them, that they would fear me and to keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and their children forever. That's what we're talking about. We want to get this down to the next generation, right? So while we're doing it, trying to perfect ourselves in him, we're supposed to be passing this down to the children, not turning them away from it, but showing them the light and saying this is the right way to go, knowing that they have to make their own decision someday. All right. And I want to talk about that. We're going to go into Sirach 15, and I want to read this here. Praise is unseemly on the lips of a sinner. If you are violating Yahuwah's commands, why you, Baruch Hashem, for what? What do you want? He don't want to hear you. He's not hearing your praise, for it has not been sent from Yahuwah. For in wisdom must praise be uttered, and Yahuwah will make it prosper. That's when it becomes blessed. You got people out here just saying, they think this and they think the other, and they praise for this and praise for that. We thank him because he does cause the sun to shine on everybody, cause the rain to fall on everybody. But praise is what cometh for whom? The upright, the ones that are walking according to his statutes. He said, don't say it was Yahuwah's doing that I fell away. For he does not do what he hates, right? He don't do what he hates. Don't say it was he who led me astray, for he has no need of the sinful. It says, Yahuwah hates all abominations. Such things are not loved by those who fear him. We know what those abominations are. Proud look, lying tongue, causing division among the brethren. Things that he hates, that he despises. We don't love. We love the things he loves and hate the what? The things he hates. That's the way it should be. It was he who created humankind in the beginning, and he left them in the power of their own free choice. You have a choice to make every day, whether or not you're going to serve him or not. If you choose, you can keep the commandments and to act faithfully in a matter of your own choice. You can't say the devil made me do anything. If you know the right thing to do, then walk in that. If you do other than the right thing, that was your choice. He has placed before you fire and water. Stretch out your hand for whichever you choose. Whatever you want, take it. You want this? Before each person's are life and death, and whichever one you choose will be given. You can choose to get into the kingdom, or you can choose to go into the lake. You can choose to be with him forever, or you can choose to be separated him for all eternity. He knows what the man's heart is capable of. For great is the wisdom of Yahuwah. He is mighty in power and sees everything. His eyes are upon those who fear him, and he knows every human action. We learned about the books. We learned about the Malachims. We learned about them writing things down. You're never alone. I don't have to worry because I'm never alone. Everything is being recorded for his people and for the wicked, because everything got to be judged in the balance, right? His eyes are on those who fear him, and he knows every human action. He has not commanded anyone to be wicked. He didn't say go out there and be wicked and raise all the hell you can. And he has not given anyone permission to sin. So the Creator knows what the man's heart is capable of. So when the Bible says, right, Yahuwah saw the wickedness of humankind was great in all the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their heart was only evil continually. That was a bad situation going on in the earth. They were not giving any esteem to the Most High, and they were doing other things. They were creating their own idols, and guess what they were doing? The same thing Israel did. Calling it by, create this little idol, and then they call it Yahuah. Profaning the name of Yahuah. Now your heart and your eyes, they're connected. Now I know that Canaan and Moremi Dead, they've covered this extensively. Ecclesiastes 2:10. Don't do this. Whatever my eyes desire, I did not keep from them. This is Shlomo, the preacher, testing the wisdom that Yahuah gave him, testing everything. I didn't keep them from them. Anything my eyes saw I wanted, I got it. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Anything he saw he wanted, he'd get. People are like that today. We're working for what? What are we working for? I want the big house, the nice car, the fine clothes, the status, the fame, the notoriety that goes along with it, right? But that's the heart and the eyes being connected. That's what got us in trouble in the first place, right? So when the woman saw the tree was good for what? Food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, right? She took of it and ate. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. All right? So it says, he tells us to wear these fringes on our garment. What's the purpose of a fringe?
It is a reminder of the covenant that we are to keep, because that way we can see it all the time.
It's a reminder for you, right? Your eyes and your heart are connected. And he said, and this shall be for you the commandment of the fringe. And this is the Targum I'm reading here. You will see it by day when you are wrapped in them. And remember all my commandments to do them, and not go astray, to err after the thoughts of your heart and after the vision of your eyes, which you go astray after, which he said in the King James, go whoring after, right? Your eyes delight you. You see something you like, you're going to pursue it. He says, be careful with these things. He wants you to have good things. He wants you to have the things that he allowed you to have, the things he wants you to have, but it cannot become an idol in your heart. Moreh Canaan. Don't let it become an idol, right? The warning of wisdom. Rejoice, young man, and just young people, while you are young, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Follow the inclinations of your heart. This is kind of advice he gives. Follow the inclination of your heart and the desires of your eyes, but know that for all these things, Yahuah will bring you into judgment. So if you're chasing after everything but him, you can get a reward for that. But if you're chasing him over everything else, you'll get a reward for that. All right? 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or the things in the world. The love of the Father is not in those who love the world. For all that is in the world, the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, the pride in riches, comes not from the Father, but from the world. And all the world and its desires are what? Passing away. But those who do the will of Yahuah will do what? Live forever. That is our objective. That's why we're pursuing Yahuah with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our mind. That's why we're what? Denying ourselves, afflicting our souls. That's why we're loving one another. That's why we're denying ourselves, esteeming our brothers above each other. I put you above me. I am serving Yahuah by serving you. All right? So we come to it. Noah and his sons. Now, these are, like I said, these are overviews, captions, quick snaps. A lot of times we just read through them, right? Genesis 9:18, the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. Now, automatically that should pop something in your mind. Why is that statement so relevant that he has to interject it at that moment? He didn't say anything about anybody else's children, but the writer is trying to trigger a remembrance of what took place and why. And we're going to get to that a little later on. These were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was peopled. That means everybody is scattered everywhere and it was populated. That means these are the ancient civilizations. When somebody come to tell you, well, you know, Kemet is older than Israel, no joke. Really? You know, Mesopotamia, that's Shem. Kemet, that's Ham. You understand? These civilizations, the Greek, we know this. That doesn't negate what the scripture says. He gave us a snapshot. He said, I don't need you to know all of it in this. You can go look that up for yourself. You can go study other world histories and see what they all did and what they all came. You say, everybody got a flood story. Some of the people out there think that's the most amazing, ironic thing. The Bible's not true. Everybody got a flood story. No doy. Really? They should, right? They should, because that's too populated in the world. We all come from one of them, right? And we spread out. So Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. What does that mean? I mean, don't that strike you as strange that he would tell you that he began to be a man of the soil? What was he doing prior to that? He wasn't a man of the soil then? He didn't do farming? Is there a deeper meaning behind this? I know when I saw it, it triggered something in me.
Slikamori. Well, could it also be because his children or his sons were going to go ahead and populate the earth, because these are from his sons, Ham, Japheth, and Shem, that they were going to go ahead and repopulate the earth, and Noah was their father. So Noah began to be the man of the soil.
That's interesting. Okay.
I mean, would that be a way of looking at it because of his children? Because Allah will allow them to live, so they were going to repopulate the earth.
I'm gonna give it to you, and I'm gonna tell you right now. Began. Right, began. That word there is chal. Right? In the Hebrew, anybody want to try that? Vayechol Noach ish chadam. And I want to stay right there because hachol is the word for to defile oneself, to profane, to desecrate, right? To enjoy, but in a negative sense. To defile, to begin, to proceed, to launch, to begin, to begun, right? Beginning, defile, desecrate, profane. It has connection to what was in him, right? It says, Ish ha'adam. Where do we see that before? In the garden. In the garden. He's becoming what he is, right? Like Adam, a man of the dirt. There was an inclination in him that started after that. Now, this is the thing I think about. How would you feel if you watched all your family and friends killed, and your family is the only one left on the entire earth as far as you know? Huh? Would you have a little PTSD? Would you be in some type of trauma? So he's struggling with something that's going to manifest later, right? Because that is a big thing. Think about that now. The world is populated, your brothers and sisters are. Now, you might have been preaching the whole time, and sometimes we do a little self-righteous. But I was trying to tell him. But he wasn't going into what we call the everlasting kingdom. He was still on this earth. And he was a what? A man in the form and fashion after who? Adam, right? All right. So, Adamah, right? Let's get all right. Adamah is the other word we see. Let me try to speed this up. It's for soil, right? And we see that in Genesis 2:7. And Elohim formed the man from the dust of the ground. This is that Adamah. He comes from, and the breath in his nostrils, the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. And this word of the beginning in the soil connects back to this here, Genesis 6:1. We've seen it before. You didn't see it in the English, but you definitely can see it in the Hebrew, right? When the people began to multiply, on the face of the ground, and the daughters were born to them, Hayachol Adam. He began to, this thing started to stir up in him after all that happened. All right. So Noah plants a vineyard. And Noah began to be a man working in the land, and he found a vine that the river had drawn from the Garden of Eden. He found a vine that, where is this coming from? Exactly. The Targum. But you don't read that in the King James or anything else. So why are they saying this? What is their reference point? Now, you've seen it before, right? He planted a vineyard, and on that day, it sprouted and ripened grapes, and he pressed them, right? He pressed them. So we're going to talk about this vine. We're going to just recap, because it's not the first time you're hearing this, but I want you to kind of piece it together as to say, listen, is this plausible? Is this what happened?
Just real quick though, and I want you to think about. So remember, it says Yahuah planted a garden.
Mm-hmm.
When Yahuah planted a garden, then he put Adam there.
Mm-hmm.
So notice that garden, that soil, that earth was a blessed soil, a blessed earth that he put him in. And when they come out, now he has to fight because that soil was not blessed. Right. Mm-hmm. So the parallel is going to be between the garden and outside the garden. A and B, when all this took place, you gotta ask yourself, did Noah come out the ark and started having seeds, or was the seed still in the earth? Mm-hmm. So when the water came down, now all of a sudden things started budding again. So the seed still remained in the earth. It killed everything else. It didn't kill the seed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you noticed that, like I said last week, have you ever seen something flooded out? You remember New Orleans, Katrina, underwater, days. When it finally receded, it was so dead and dingy. But now you go there and it's back to life and refurbished. All right, so we'll continue on with Noah and the vine, and I'm going to read from 3rd Baruch 4 and 6. I know they might be controversial, so might not. I just want you to kind of fill in the blank of what's going on. Why he just all of a sudden just planted a vineyard? Why would he plant a vineyard? This is one of the things that they have said in the past, right? This is what they're saying. And I, Baruch, said to the Malach, "Show me the tree which deceived Adam, And the Malak said to me, when Elohim made the garden and commanded Michael to gather 200,003 Malachim so that they could plant the garden. Michael planted the olive, and Gabriel the apple, and Uriel the nut, and Raphael the melon, and Santiel the vine. For at first his name in former times was Sentinel. And similarly, all the Malachims planted the various trees of the garden. You read this before, right? Anybody remember? Anybody remember? I know you remember. And began I, Baruch, saying to the Malak, Adon, show me the tree through which the serpent deceived Eve and Adam. And the Malak said to me, listen, Baruch. In the first place, the tree was the vine. But the second, the tree is sinful desire, which Chantanel spread over Eve and Adam. And because of this, Elohim has cursed the vine because of Chantanel and had planted it. And by that, he deceived the protoplast of the first type of the first man, right? Adam and Eve. And I, Baruch, said to the Malak, Adon, if Elohim has cursed the vine and its seed, then how can it be used now? That's a reasonable question, right? All right. And the Malak said to me, rightly you ask, when Elohim made the flood upon the earth, he drowned every firstling. All right, we covered all that, right? And he destroyed 140,000 giants. There's more to that story, more to that. It's more to it. There was another killing took place. And the water rose above the highest mountain, 20 cubits above the mountains. And the waters entered into the garden and bringing out one shoot from the vine as Elohim withdrew the waters. You know, you ever seen a vine plant grow? Right? It'll consume, it just stretches. All right. And there was dry land, and Noah went out of the ark and found the vine laying on the ground and did not recognize it, having only heard about it and its form. It was stories that they told him. They had this tree in the vine, this is what it looked like. He had never seen it. It's like, what is this? Right? He thought to himself, saying, this is truly the vine of Chantanel, planted in the middle of the garden, by which he deceived Eve and Adam. Because of this, Elohim cursed it and its seed. So he understood that. He knew that. So if I plant it, then will Elohim be angry with me? Now remember, he's outside the garden. He's outside the garden. He wants to plant this. So what did he do? He knelt down on his knees and fasted 40 days. Praying and crying, he said, Yahuah, if I plant this, what will happen? What will happen? And Yahuah sent the Malak, Sariel. He declared to him, rise, Noah, and plant the vine, and alter its name and change it for the better. All right? But he gives him a warning. He said, and he tells the Malak warns Baruch, who is having this vision. Beware, Baruch, the tree still possesses its evil. It still possesses its evil. Those who drink wine in what? Excess. There's nothing wrong with drinking wine, but if you drink it in excess, you're going to do all evil. Brother does not show mercy to brother. You ain't in your right senses. Nor father to son, nor son to father. And the evil of the wine comes forth murder and adultery and fornication and cursing, as much evil as exists because of wine. I said like this, whatever is in you and you drinking wine, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. The real you will show up. If you're peaceable, and genuine and settled, oh yeah, you'll see that peace. But if you get them, if you get a little something in them, and all of a sudden they're getting loud, they're getting loud, and everything somebody says is offensive. They're ready to fight. They can't control themselves. It's still in it, right? It's still in there. All right. So Noah in the Qumran, right? It says this. Then I began to cultivate the earth together with my sons. And I planted a large vineyard on Mount Lebar. When 4 years had passed, it produced wine for me. 4 years. Now there's a rule or a law in Torah about the vine and the fruit trees and how you're supposed to wait 4 years. And the fourth year is for who? Who? For Yahuah. All right. Jubilee 7:1. Noah and the wine still. And in the 7th week, in the first year in that Jubilee, Noah planted a vine on the top, on the mountain on which the ark rested, whose name is Lebar, one of the mountains of Ararat. And it produced fruit in the 4th year. And he guarded its fruit, and he picked it in that year in the 7th month. And he made wine from it, and he put it in a vessel, and he guarded it until the what? Why the 5th year? Because the 5th year, you can partake of it. It's yours now. Until the first day of the 1st month. And on that day, he made a feast with rejoicing. So we read all this in there. All right. And he made a burnt offering unto Yahuah, 1 calf from the bulls, 1 ram, a lamb of 7 years, and 1 kid of the goat, in order that he might hereby seek atonement for himself and for his son. Why would he do that? Who is he now? Who is he now? We're still talking about Noah. Who is he now?
Kamori, is it because he's seeking atonement because of the wine and the sins that he may commit because of the wine that he's going to partake in the?
No. I'm asking, who is Noah? Why he's able to do this?
Isn't he acting as a priest?
The priest and the king of the earth.
Okay.
The priest and the king of the earth. Adam was the first, right? Now that all that generation is past, they're the new generation, the seedling. Now he is the king and the priest. All right. So something happened after he drank that wine. And 9 times out of 10, we read it, it says, and he drank some of the wine and he became drunk and he laid uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Cain, is that statement again, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brothers outside. What did Ham do wrong? What happened? What are some of the theories and things you hear out there? What's some of the things you hear?
Moray, I heard that. Am I echoing?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, I heard that that him and in uncovering his father's nakedness, that was him sleeping with his mother or laying with his mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard that too. What else? Anybody else? No? That was your answer? Everybody? That's everybody's answer.
I've heard some stuff. I've heard
You've heard?
I've heard that he messed with his mother. He messed with him. He castrated him. I've heard all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we learned all that in the English. I'm just honestly, because the way it's written in the King James, of course, you would think that. But let me read this in Jubilee 7. All right, because I'm going to share with you something and say, and they rejoiced, and he drank some of the wine, he and his sons, with rejoicing. So he wasn't drinking by himself. They all was drinking. And when the evening came, he entered in his tent, and he laid down drunk, and he slept. And he was uncovered in his tent, and he was sleeping. And Ham saw Noah and his father naked. And he went out and he told his brothers outside. So what was the thing he did wrong?
He disrespected his father.
What? Is there a commandment against that?
Again,
No. It's not about that. He mocked his father. His dad laying there, having a good time. He come in there, he see him laying there, his old man here just all drunk and everything. He come out and he tell his brothers, man, he in there passed out, all business out in the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? Ridiculous. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Huh? Oh, sorry. I need to back it up a little bit. Yeah, I did. All right. So it says, Exodus 20:12. We read that, right? It says, honor your father and your mother. Did he show his father honor in doing this? Huh? So that your days may be long in the land which Yahuah Elohim he gives you, right? Then he says, love covers. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, and he laid it on their shoulders and walked backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. Their face was turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. They didn't shame their father. He says in Proverbs 10:12, it says, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. We are brothers and family. If you get into a rub, it's not me to go out there and tell everybody, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. Oh, did you hear about this? You hear about that? That's why he writes later, those who are spiritual. You see a brother overtaken in a fault, those who are spiritual are to consult with that person. And you consider yourself because that could be you. You don't have to spread it all over town, right? Let's go. It says, Exodus 21:12, whoever treats his father or mother disgracefully must surely be put to death. You don't I don't care how ridiculous sometimes our parents can be. We don't shame our parents. We don't disrespect them. We don't disgrace them and tell people all their flaws. No, you honor your mother and your father. You honor them no matter what the situation is. All right? Let's say Proverbs 30:10. It says, do not slander a servant to his master, lest he curse you, and you are found guilty. There is a generation who curses their father and do not bless their mother. Now, what does curse mean? Huh? Call, right? It says kalal, to make light, to treat lightly, to curse, revile, declare contemptible, treat shamefully. Do we treat our parents shamefully? Do we show contempt towards our mother and father?
Well, I mean, it's always depend on the person, we would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to think about it. Like some children, if their parents didn't treat them right or things that they've done to them, they don't really want no parts of their parent. They've tried to reach out. Let's just say we'll go on one side. They try to reach out to the parents, but parents either don't want no parts or, just treat them bad. Mm-hmm. So at that point, a child might say, well, what do I do? You know what I mean? Because they're hurt. They're going through something. But as the scriptures are sharing is, you'll be honoring your parents by honoring the father, the father. That's where your blessings are going to come, because prayerfully, you may not see it now, right? But prayerfully, by you being righteous, and the Father blessing you, your works might do something to your parents later on that they may come back. You may be old or they might be on their last leg, and they're like, you know what, despite all that I've done to you, you stayed this way to me, and I apologize. But the key to all of that realistically still is by you being obedient to the Father, thereby helping or is preserving your life, your own soul salvation, because you're being obedient to his word, even when your parents, treat you wrong.
Hallelujah. Because that's who they represent. Whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, that's the authority that Yahuah has placed on them as your parent. They represent me as an authority in your life. Respect them. All right. So,
Excuse me, oh,
yes.
just to piggyback on what Morey Lamont just said, before I came into this walk, as I was reading and studying the scriptures, a lot of the things that one of my parents did, I truly realized a lot of generational things happened and things I went through in life was a product of one of my parents. And I was just I held such a grudge against this parent. But as I studied and as I prayed, and I kept that in my heart and I tried to move on. But the more I prayed, Yahuah definitely told me, in order to move to where I need you in me, you have to let that go. And not only do I have to let that go, I have to love. And until I made an effort, and it was very hard at first, at first it's almost forced, a forced type of interaction. But the more I moved towards that and what was told to me, the more I realized that it became more of a real thing, and how Yahuah just alleviated all of that. And I know it sound like it can't be done, but it's so true that you have to love your enemies, even though you know that their actions may have attached itself to you generationally.
All right. So I agree. It's hard. It can be. But when you come into the knowledge of the truth and you begin to study Yahuwah's word, then you begin to make some changes within yourself. You allow him to do the healing and adjusting, saying, Father, I agree with you. Everybody that comes into the knowledge of the truth wakes up angry. They lied to me. They led me astray. Well, they didn't lie to you technically. They didn't know. How can I tell you something I didn't know? How can I lead you in something? Now, we will be held guilty for sure. Those in this room and online, and those that will listen to this broadcast in the future, you will definitely be held accountable if you don't listen to listen to what he said. Teach it to your children. Share it with them. You got to let that other thing go. Okay, you didn't know better. There's a lot of things we don't know still. And our children have to forgive us. Some of the things that we did in our parenting. We made mistakes. All right.
You have a question on YouTube.
YouTube question.
What if your mother and father are not in the walk? And then there's a part 2 to that question. They also want to bring into Matthew 3:35, Matthew 12:50, and Luke 8:21. For whoever does the desires of Elohim is my brother and my sister, and my sister and my mother.
Absolutely. But that doesn't negate you from honoring your parents. And honoring don't mean you kowtow to everything they say. It just means you respect them as your parents. They they were the conduit by which you came into this world. They don't have run shock over your life belongs to Yahuah. But as long as your parents, you would not be here had he not used your mother's and your father's ingenuity to bring you forth. Right? Right? So you have to honor them. Honor Yahuah because of them. Say, Father, I thank you for allowing me to be born. I thank you for my parents, my mother and my father. I'm praying for them yet. Yes. When he said that, he says, look, who is my mother and my father? Because they was trying to get his attention. They had that special privilege. Oh, yeah, call my son. I need him. I'm at the door. Tell him I'm at the door. Now, who is my mother and who is my father? There's no special privilege there in that sense. I'm not going to put you above everybody else. I'm meeting other needs, but I'm going to take care of you just the same. When he was on the stake, did he just say, forget that old lady? Oh, what he said? He said, Yochanan, behold your mother. Woman, behold your son. Making sure his mama was taken care of. Huh? So you got to put the whole thing together. Don't just say, I'm just cutting everything off, but honor them in their place, in their generation, in your time. Be righteous in your generation. All right, you got to hurry up. All right. Noah wakes up. All right. But Noah awoke from his wine and he knew that his youngest son had done to him. What does that mean? What does it mean that Noah woke up and he knew? Huh? What is the normal thing we hear? Huh? What does that mean? We don't know. We got a whole bunch of things. Well, the word for what? To awake, yakitz, right? Awake, to be awakened. That's what happens to us when we wake up. To wake, it's a quickening, and it's connected to something. It's a knowing that happens, right? A yada, to know, to recognize, to understand. It also is an intimate knowing. He wasn't talking about intimately knowing, but he recognized something. He knew something that took place. He'd been made aware of something. All right. So I want to share that with you because there was two, it's a positive and negative. You could wake up and not realize that you have lost the favor of Yahuah. You're not aware. You've taken him for granted. You have violated his trust. What happens then? Well, let's see. Shimshon woke up. He awakes, right? He wakes up. Judges 16:18. And Delilah realized that he had told her his whole secret. She sent to call the masters of the Philistines, saying, this time come up, for he has told his whole secret to me. Be careful, young men. Yahuwah is giving you a job, a charge, who you entrusted to, who you tell, whose head you lay your lap. The master of the Philistines came up to her and brought her the money in her hands. She did all that for money, for greed, lusted eyes, and the pride of the riches. It happens to both. It's not just men, but this is the example of Shimshon, right? And let him fall asleep on her lap. This man loved this woman. He trusted her. When a man loves a woman, he trusts her. He trusts her with all. And she called a man, and he had him shave off the 7 locks of his head, and he began to weaken. And his strength left him. He didn't even realize it. Then she said to the Philistines, upon you, Shimshon. When he had woke, that's that word, he woke up, just like Noah did. He woke up from his sleep. He thought, I will go out as at other times and shake myself free. But he did not know that Yahuwah had left him. You don't want to be that person thinking you walking upright, doing the will of Yahuwah, and in total violation. What was the one thing he wasn't supposed to do? To cut the locks of his head. Drink, right? But he told her everything.
He wasn't.
Zemariah had a question. I don't know if she still has a question, but she had a question.
Yes? Oh, okay. Almost done. Last slide. Well, last one. I have another example, right? A blessed Shimshon wakes up, right? 1 Kings 3:5, and reading. At Gibeon, Yahuah appears to Shimshon in a dream by night. And Elohim said, ask what I should give you. Listen closely, young folks. And Solomon said, you have shown great and steadfast love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, in uprightness of heart towards you, and you kept him in great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Yahuah, my Elohim, you have made his servant king in place of my father David. Although I am a little child, I do not know how to go in, out, or come in. And your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous that cannot be numbered or counted. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding heart to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil. For who can govern this, your great people? That is the kind of attitude we want to have. He didn't dwell on the father past indiscretions. He said, my father, because he had a heart for Yahuah. Yahuah had forgiven him and showed him favor all his life. We want that same report of our children, to be righteous in our generation. He's saying David was righteous in his generation, and now here I sit in his stead. He's gone. And it says, it pleased Yahuah that Solomon had asked this. Elohim said to him, because you have asked this and have not asked for yourself long life, I want to live forever, or riches, or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right. Understanding to discern what is right. I now do according to your word. And indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind, heart. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor all your life. No other king shall compare to you. If you walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your life. This is the report I want of me when my son goes to pray. Like your father in his generation. Be righteous in your generation. Then Solomon awoke, and it had been a dream. But he realized all that had happened. And he came to Jerusalem, where he stood before the ark of the covenant, because he said, Yahuah just made a covenant with me, the covenant of Yahuah. And he offered up burnt offerings and offerings of well-being, and provided a feast for all his servants. For all his servants. So you can wake up and not realize that you've been left, or you can wake up and have the favor of Yahuah, the understanding of Yahuah, and Yahuah promising to be with you all the days of your life. But he also said, what he said, when he woke up, Noah said, cursed be Canaan. And we'll deal with that next week. Is there any questions?